Hey, Mama, I am so glad we are reconnecting. Finally. Girl, my list has been piled a mile high. I've crossed everything off of it at this point. And the one thing I'm ready to focus on is minding my own motherhood. That's what season 3 is going to be all about. MYOM. And I want you to join me and make the commitment to minding your own motherhood too. Let's get into it. Welcome back to another episode of Mind Your Own Motherhood. I am your host, Day Hayes. This is a space where we talk all things marriage, motherhood, and mental health. I'm a mama of three lovely little ones who are my absolute joy, and I'm also a wife. We're gonna be married for 6 years. Yo, that's crazy. Time, like, what is time? Like, that's really, really wild. We're going to be talking a little bit about time and how we're using our time in this episode. If you have been watching the last two episodes, I want to say thank y'all so very much. If you have not, make sure you pause this one and go back to the other ones. I'm currently doing a series called Let's Be Real, and I have committed myself to making sure that I am transparent, giving y'all a little bit more insight about what is going on in your girl's life. And prayerfully, this helps you through your journey. If you have watched any of my previous seasons, you know I like to play this game called Pump or Dump with my guests. Today, y'all are my guests. And so, as we go through these pump or dump questions, I want you guys to drop your responses in the comments. Let me know. And so, let's get right into the pump or dump questions. Ooh, I'm so excited. Pump or dump. Waking up at 5 a.m. to have a perfect quiet time or inviting God into the chaos later. I'm going to say that I'm pumping inviting God into the chaos later because I really want us to release the idea that the only type of woman that the Lord can bless is a Proverbs 31 woman. Me getting up at 5 a.m. in this season right now doesn't work for me. I may get in a quick 2 to 3 minute devotional. Sometimes I might be able to get a prayer call in, and I have tried to be on prayer calls while getting my kids ready for school, and it's stressful. You can't hear the prayer. It's nothing you can do. God can calm chaos. Let's refer back to the scripture in the story where he calmed the storm and he calmed that chaos. So I'm over here inviting God into the chaos. So I am dumping 5 a.m. wake ups for the perfect quiet time. And I think that you should too. Because if you're only looking for him in that time, you are limiting how the Lord wants to show up in your life. All right, I have said enough. Pump or dump. Checking boxes for spiritual discipline. I am dumping that. Spiritual discipline is so rooted in religion and not in relationships. God has specific instructions for us when it comes to what He wants us to do. If you have a relationship with Christ, you are allowing yourself to have a heart check because He knows our hearts, He knows the intention of our hearts, and He will create in us a clean heart. So I'm not doing the whole I need to go to church every Sunday, I need to listen to 3 sermons and read 10 scriptures. I may not have the capacity every day, but because I'm not holding myself to the law and I'm allowing myself to experience the love of God, I feel like I'm doing what the Lord has called me to do. Pushing through exhaustion for the sake of consistency. Y'all, I know this year you have probably made a commitment to yourself to be more consistent with your content and the goals that the Lord has put in mind for you. Consistency is going to be cultivated by your relationship with Christ. Everybody doesn't have the same capacity. I'm immediately brought to the story about the talents where the leader gave talents according to everyone's capacity. Your capacity is different. It is not the measure of consistency. It is the measure of your commitment and your obedience to the calling that Christ has on your life. If you're not being obedient, if you're not doing, then God cannot work with what it is you have not done. His hand, his anointing will breathe on whatever it is that you are doing. But if you are putting yourself in a position where you're pushing yourself to exhaustion and burnout and agitation and frustration and all of the shuns that come with it, then you're really putting yourself in a position to not be able to see how the Lord wants to breathe on what it is that He's called you to do. Yeah, I'm learning that lesson real time. Let's go ahead and get into the meat and potatoes. We're doing Bible studies today. I'm very excited because in my previous seasons of Mind Your Own Motherhood, I've done these Bible study sessions, and this one is still along the line of let's be real. So, our let's be real topic for today is rest versus resolutions. I shared with y'all before, I'm about to be giving y'all some behind the scenes situations that happened in my head and my mind as I navigate the world. But I really was sitting with God in this season of stillness that I'm going through. And I've realized your girl's always looking for a resolution. I want answers. Like, give me answers, Lord. Tell me why, God. Make it make sense, Father. In that tone, in that vein, in that spirit is where I have typically come from in my relationship with God. But I think that that was such an immature part of me, and I'm so gracious for his patience that I have learned that the Lord has not promised you resolutions, but he's absolutely promised you rest. The Lord has not promised you resolutions, but he has promised you rest. One of my babies, my 2-year-old, she is at a stage right now where you tell her something and she's like, why? 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 She's in the why stage and she will why me to my knees with the Lord. I'm just like, God, I don't have the answers for her. I don't have the resolution for her, God. What am I supposed to tell her, Father? I don't know. I don't know the why the moon is shining the way it's shining because I am not a scientist. But she's so persistent with her why. She's so persistent with her seeking of an answer that sometimes she doesn't let the question why go to rest. And I wonder if she's even going to remember that she had a stage of why. And if she is going to remember that her whys may be answered in the growing and evolving over time. If she just rests and knowing that she's going to grow and evolve and gain wisdom as she grows over time. Y'all, that was just a revelation to me because the resolutions that we look for, we want them immediately. And we will do anything in our power to receive them. We want to know the why. We want to understand why, God, did you choose to take my mother? Why, God, did I have to experience this heartbreak? Why, God, are you putting me through a silent season? Why, God, am I not able to have the finances that you said that my business would have? Why, God, is my business not getting clients right now the way that you said that I would have? Instead of resting in his truth, in his peace, in his love, and knowing that in the doing of your obedience, as you evolve and mature in a relationship with him, you will both experience. He won't just tell you the resolution. You will experience the resolution, but only through the medium of rest. There's a wonderful story in the Bible that we're about to get to that points to exactly this. So let's come a little closer and let's get into the word. I was studying Hebrews 3 and 4, and I had to study Hebrews 3 and 4 because there was no way that I was about to be able to really understand and navigate this word without understanding the context. Like, I know that some people are like, oh, read your whole Bible. So Hebrews 3 and 4. A little bit of context here. It was about the promise of rest and the warnings that precede if you don't enter God's rest. And I really enjoyed it because I've never heard of warnings attached to not entering his rest. Um, I assumed that if the Lord offers something, it's open to everyone. But just because something is open doesn't mean that everyone is going to actually access it, which was baffling to me because I was like, oh, this is something that like I have to actively pursue in such a way that I am accessing it, that God has given me the access, but I've got to actually turn the key. So let's get into it. Hebrews 3:1, it starts off saying, brothers and sisters, it's referring to that the brothers and sisters are a chosen people. You are a part of God's adopted family, and that we are partners with his covenant under the rules of heaven. If you're not familiar with the rules and kingdom of heaven, I want to highly suggest that you begin to like really wrap your mind around disassociating or separating yourself from like culture's ways and like kingdom rules, because they're two totally different things. And then we move on to Hebrews 3:2, which they're like really kind of summarizing. I'll try to summarize as much as I can. Hebrews 3, 2 through 4. He's talking about that for the sake of the text, that it's clear that Jesus is greater than Moses. And he kind of gives this analogy of Jesus is to God as Moses is to Jesus, and that God was appointed by faithfulness while Moses was entrusted with his assignment. You are assigned and anointed, but the Lord is the one appointed and responsible for the outcome. You've been entrusted with an assignment, which means that you are securely rooted, and you're connected in covenant to a particular assignment. But it is really Jesus who this will happen because of. It then goes on to compare this idea of Jesus and God as the builders and us as the building. If Jesus and God are the builders, guess what? They're responsible for the building of that building, which means you just have to stand firm and let the Lord build. Over time, you gotta rest. The bricks gotta be placed brick by brick. That's how it's gonna happen. Hebrews 3:6 focuses on that Christ is in charge of God's entire house. Again, rest requires you releasing an authority that you don't have. The Hebrew term of in charge, because I was like, okay, God, well, what does this really mean in charge? Is aki or aki. I am not familiar with Hebrew terminology, so please forgive me. But it means to be responsible, to be appointed, to be a guard, to have oversight and stewardship. It signifies a qualifier to being in God's house, which gave me a lot of hope, y'all. If Christ is in charge of my house, Christ is in charge of me. That means that Christ is responsible. He's the steward. He's the guard. He's the command. He's the appointed one. He is responsible for the outcome. And so I can release myself of the stress of trying to be responsible for an outcome. I just have to be obedient and he handles the outcome.
We create, bless, and repeat. Listen, I know we're all out here building dreams and raising babies. That's why this space was made just for you. I'm Day Hayes, a mama of 3, wife, and podcast producer. I left a whole career to follow God's call on my life and create spaces where moms can walk in purpose without doubt and with our whole chest. Now, I help women turn their voices into powerful, spirit-led platforms, making impact